All eyes are on dangerous Hurricane Laura as she approaches the North Gulf Coast of the United States. Good evening, I'm Mike Naso with the latest video update on our coverage here of Hurricane Laura. Let's get straight to it, we got a lot to cover. Here is the latest advisory as of 4 p.m. Central Time, that's 5 p.m. Eastern. The eye of the hurricane was at 24.7 north, 88.3 west. It's moving west-northwest at 17. That's slower than the 21 miles an hour it was moving yesterday. And the winds are up to 80 miles per hour, and it looks like further deepening, maybe even rapid strengthening, is likely over the next 24 hours. And you can see Laura is forecast to become a major hurricane, a Category 3, and make landfall very near the Texas-Louisiana border. And because of that, we do have a hurricane warning in effect from San Luis Pass, Texas to Intracoastal City, Louisiana. We also have a tropical storm warning from Sargent, Texas to San Luis Pass, and east of Intracoastal City, Louisiana, on over to the mouth of the Mississippi River. Hurricane watch from east of Intracoastal City to Morgan City as well. This whole area is on the alert. Evacuations are being ordered. Listen to your local officials as Laura makes her fast approach on the Gulf Coast. The computer models this morning, they were really scary for Houston. Houston, you are not out of the woods yet. However, they're really getting tight that it's going to be very near the border between Cameron, Louisiana, and Houston, Texas, right in the area of Port Arthur, Beaumont, Sabine Pass, Holly Beach. If you live in these areas, you guys need to be prepared for the worst of storm surge and the impacts of a major hurricane right now. Here's the visible satellite imagery as the sun starts to go down. We have a coiling eye here starting to develop, and it has been dealing with some dry air, kind of stable air. You can see up here, look at this little spin. That's what's left of Marco still trying to hang around, but the environment's getting pushed aside as Laura moves towards the coastline. And again, right now, the National Hurricane Center isn't messing around. It's a Category 1 hurricane, expecting it to get to a 2 and then a 3 as it makes landfall. But again, it could be 100-mile-an-hour Category 2. It could become a Category 4. Right now, it's a 3 is the forecast, but you have to be ready for something stronger in case Laura decides to rapidly intensify. You can see the thunderstorms blowing up here on the right-hand side of the circulation. That is indicative of a strengthening hurricane. Now, there are some elements here at work, and let me explain to you what's going to happen. See this dark slot in here? This inverted trough thingamajig is weakening the high pressure to the north of the hurricane. The high moves in a clockwise direction, and that steers Laura towards the west and west-northwest. As this troughiness breaks down the ridging, it's creating what we call a weakness, and it's drawing Laura up towards the north, and that's what's going to cause it to hit the Gulf Coast. If this was not here and we had continued ridging, you would see Laura go to South Texas or Mexico. However, that's not what's going to happen, and Laura's going to make landfall sometime late Wednesday night, early Thursday. After that, it's going to get caught in the westerly flow and do a complete turn on towards the east, and probably even leave the East Coast and move into the Atlantic. Not that it'll do much, but still it could cause some nasty weather here along the Carolina coastline in a couple of days. Here's the latest wind shear map. You can see much better defined environment than we had yesterday. Look at how it has this little, what do you want to call it, like a jet, this little jet here into the Caribbean, and then another one on off towards the north. That is not what you want to see because this could really crank up the hurricane, especially over these hot waters. Look at these water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico. Marco left a little bit of a tongue of cool water here, but looks like Laura's moving to the south, right over boiling waters, and so Laura's going to suck a lot of these hot, high-octane fueled sea surface temperatures right to the coastline. Could be a little bit of wind shear near the coast, and that's why the Hurricane Center is going conservative, 115 miles an hour, but that is still very dangerous. When we're talking about the Saffir-Simpson wind scale, anything a Cat 3 or over is a major hurricane. The last major hurricane to hit America was Hurricane Michael in 2018. Right now, we're dealing with a Category 1, so we're in the some damage range. It is forecast to be a Category 3, which is getting into the devastating category. And with a Category 3 hurricane, what are we looking at? The satellite would look something like this, pushing into the Gulf Coast, and the storm surge would be the biggest threat with damage, something like on the left side, 111 to 129 miles an hour, devastating damage, a very, very serious impact. As I mentioned, storm surge. Can't stress this enough. Storm surge is what killed. Remember Hurricane Katrina 2005, what it did to Mississippi? Remember Hurricane Rita, right in this same area, 2005, what it did to Holly Beach and Cameron? That was not wind. That was water. And right now the forecast for Laura, 9 to 13 feet of surge. Kalamazoo Lake, Sabine Lake, this whole area here, Sea Rim State Park, the onshore flow here, wherever the near and to the right of where the hurricane makes landfall, that water rise is going to be significant. But look at Vermilion Bay and Intracoastal City, Morgan City, 7 to 11 feet. Even 3 to 5 feet back here near Galveston Bay. Oh my goodness. Now I'll tell you this, if the hurricane makes landfall far enough to the east of Galveston, you could always have winds offshore, which would be great news, but still, the dome of surge that the hurricane builds up is what's going to push into the coastline. Look at this. This is a very disturbing graphic. This is greater than 9 feet above sea level inundation, and this is for the Louisiana coast. Look at Cameron, Louisiana. This is Sabine Lake, as I mentioned, and these areas could be very hard hit. They could actually be submerged as Laura moves on in. You can see the Beaumont, Port Arthur area. Look at the inundation potential all along the coastline, even back towards Grand Isle and areas here of southeastern Louisiana. You guys could have water rises of at least a couple of feet, but again, the brunt of Laura's surge will be near and to the right of landfall, and all this area of Louisiana could see inundation. So if you are told to evacuate, please do so. Even if you're up in Lake Charles and areas like Kalamazoo Lake, beautiful, but I'm telling you, once that water gets up there, you're talking 9, 10, 14, 15 feet with waves on top of that. It's going to be very, very nasty, okay? The rainfall is also a threat. You can see Laura's expected to bring heavy rainfall, 10 to 15 inches perhaps near where the center makes landfall, and then all the way up into the Ohio Valley as time goes on later through the week. And that could cause flooding. Right now we have a moderate risk of flooding straight through Louisiana into Arkansas, and then heavy rainfall moving on towards the East Coast as Laura will get caught in those westerlies. The key messages this evening with Hurricane Laura: number 1, there is a danger of life-threatening storm surge, large dangerous waves, potentially catastrophic damage from St. Louis past Texas to the mouth of the Mississippi River, including areas inside the Port Arthur Hurricane Flood Protection System. Now, this surge could penetrate up to 30 miles inland from the coastline in southwest Louisiana and far southeast Texas. Actions to protect life and property should be rushed to completion this evening because the water levels are going to rise tomorrow in advance of the hurricane. Number 2, hurricane force winds expected Wednesday night in the warning area all the way to west of Morgan City. The strongest winds, of course, will be with Laura's eye wall, and that will occur somewhere in this area. We'll close in on it as the hurricane makes landfall. Hurricane force winds and widespread gusts well inland into East Texas and western Louisiana Thursday. And finally, number 3, the threat of widespread flash and urban flooding, small streams overflowing banks, heavy rainfall Wednesday into Thursday, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas. That's all going to spread northeast into the middle Mississippi and lower Ohio and Tennessee valleys Friday into Saturday. So no doubt residents there will be watching and waiting what Laura does. Right now, she's organizing. She kind of has the look of a thimble, but don't let that fool you. The core is strengthening, and we could see some serious intensification into a major hurricane before landfall. So I'm Mike Nasel with the latest on our dangerous Hurricane Laura on an approach towards the Gulf Coast. I will see you next time.